Are you in the mood for a slow burn 80s action thriller that tells the tale of East meets West? Well, then I have just the film for you. While it may not be as off the walls and full of gunfights as its contemporaries, Black Rain is instead full of extremely memorable characters, an engaging mystery filled with drama, and action scenes that, while spaced out, are quite exciting. Following foul-mouthed and rough around the edges Nick Coughlin and his charismatic best friend Charlie Vincent, the story already starts in the middle of inter-department investigations that has Nick under the spotlight as the key suspect of stolen contraband. However, after witnessing a Yakuza hit, the two of them get swept up into a thrill-filled journey that has them traveling to the land of the rising sun, where they themselves are the fish out of water with barely anyone to call an ally, all while trying to put a stop to a slowly growing plot. The story twists and turns over the 2-hour runtime, and while there are moments of downtime with the characters getting great development, it never once slows the flow of the movie down. Honestly, with the excellent directing, acting, and cinematography, not a second feels wasted. Unlike a lot of other 80s action films, where the characters are all as perfect as can be for their roles, everyone here is flawed. Nick isn't exactly the most pleasant character in the beginning, but with how everything progressed, with Charlie befriending their handler on the Japanese force by the name of Masahiro, it was really nice seeing them all slowly develop into an actual team who trusted one another. While the villain by the name of Sato did have a presence, he wasn't exactly the most memorable villain. Still, he was intimidating when he was on screen, and filled the hateable role of the villain we wanted to see be brought to justice. Like I said, this isn't just a shoot-'em-up fest like other action films of the time. There are a few shootouts throughout the film, and they all ramp up to the final action scene of the film, which is an incredible payoff, I must say. But if you're looking for non-stop action, this might not be the film for you, as the character drama and lovely, although sometimes overly gray scenery, also plays a big part. Still, if you don't mind character building, then you'll be treated to some very fun, explosion-filled gunfights that, while a bit lacking on blood, more than make up for it with how they play out. The film is really nice to look at, with plenty of neon-lit shots of Osaka and some very fitting internal scenes. While I did feel that some of the film's shots were a bit too heavy on the use of one color, like gray or orange, there were other times where it worked in the favor of the scene, and when there was color, there was a lot of it. Also, even though a lot of the film was shot in the dark, everything is still really easy to see, or it was done tastefully to help enhance the scene. The soundtrack was amazing and amazingly 80s, to put it simply. The original score by Hans Zimmer was great, and I couldn't tell it was done by him originally because it doesn't sound like how he usually does tracks now. The opening and ending song, by the name of I'll Be Holding On, was wonderfully 80s, and the synth and occasional pan flutes mixed the decade with tradition of where the film was set. Now, I do have a few spoilers, so jump to the time provided on screen if you don't want the film to be spoiled. Alright, on to spoilers. I was genuinely sad when Charlie was killed off, and while I loved that it fit into the plot without feeling forced, it was still hard to watch since he was so likable. I also love the fact that Nick doesn't kill Sato, and actually brings him to justice. And it was also neat to see a lot of cliches were avoided, like Masahiro getting to survive, Nick doesn't get the girl in the end, and other things of that nature being subverted. And with all that said, Black Rain may not be for those looking for a purely action-filled experience, but anyone who wants to watch an action movie that is more story and character than just action will have a treat with this one. Despite the long runtime, it goes by quick, and it's also a time capsule of late 80s Japan, with a cast that actually develops plenty of intrigue and surprisingly heart. Black Rain is a great time. As always, if you want to help support the channel, please consider sharing the video with a friend or checking out my Patreon linked in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them down below as I read and reply to everything. Until next time, this is Thierry Williamson signing off until the next video. See ya, guys!